I've been looking forward to coming for a long time and to be able to meet the good people here. And I can tell you that Josh has said so many great things about this congregation and about you individually. When you picture Jesus in your mind's eye, what do you see? Do you picture him on a golden throne in heaven surrounded by angels playing harps? Maybe you picture him in a white robe and his arms outstretched. Maybe you picture him preaching the Sermon on the Mount. Maybe you've even allowed yourself to picture him in the upper room on his hands and knees with a basin of water washing the feet of his disciples between the toes of Judas Iscariot, who he knew was about to betray him. Maybe you picture him, Jesus, sitting on a mountainside surrounded by children. He loved children, didn't he? But how many times when you picture Jesus, do you picture him as he describes himself over in Luke chapter 9? Luke chapter 9 and verse 58, he says, foxes have their holes, and the birds of the sky have their nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. How many times do you picture in your mind a homeless Jesus? The Son of God, there at the creation of the earth, homeless, depending upon the hospitality of others. What that tells me is Jesus understands the plight of those homeless people that you and I see every day. That he can feel with compassion for the children and their parents and the challenges that they face being homeless, because he was there and he depended upon the hospitality and the generosity of others who cared enough to reach out to those that were disadvantaged. For those of you that are not aware of Family Promise, let me give you the Snapchat photo quick version of Family Promise. Family Promise began in Lubbock in 1998 by a group of about 4 or 5 churches who saw a need to help homeless children and their parents. We offer a safe and child-friendly environment as an alternative to the chaotic shelters that we see around town. And as Josh alluded to earlier, one of the main differences about Family Promise is that we allow families to stay together as they work through this difficult period in their lives of being homeless. In most shelters, the women are on one side of the shelter and the men are on the other side. But at Family Promise, moms and dads can work together to bring their family out of homelessness and into a home. We believe in keeping the family unit together. Now, we don't always see just moms and dads. Sometimes we see single dads, and sometimes we see single moms who come into the program. But they all have one thing in common. And we asked one family one time, why do you want to come to Family Promise? And she said, because my kids are now old enough to understand that we're homeless. And that's not the memory I want them to have of their childhood. And so we bring them into Family Promise, and we have what we call the Promise House. It's the overnight house, and it's a 4-bedroom home where we can keep 3 families at a time. And they have their own room there. Then the 4th room is for the overnight volunteer, and some of you have done that. And so we bring them in, and they have their meals together. And while they are there, almost from day one, we begin providing case management services to them. The goal is not to get them into Family Promise. We're not a success until they're out, until they're on their own, independent till they're holding the keys to their own apartment. Boy, if you've never seen that, I wish you could. That's what success for us is, getting them out of the home. But we provide that case management. We provide classes for them. It's all designed to help them become independent. We have churches from all different denominations across town that help us, that come in, and you are one of the mainstays. For those of you that don't know, you guys provide meals for our homeless families. You provide an overnight host or a mentor, someone to stay with the families at night to make sure they're safe, so they have somebody to talk to. You guys have done things like events in which the kids have come, and Elpidia will talk about that here in a minute. But 365 days a year, somebody brings in a meal. 365 days a year, somebody stays with our families. They typically stay with us for about between 70 and 90 days. And again, during that time, we provide child care for them. We help them find a job. We don't do it for them. Here's the other thing that's different about Family Promise is we don't believe in all the handouts that a lot of well-intentioned people do. We believe in a hand up rather than the hand out. Because if a person has some, what I call skin in the game, if they are helping themselves get out of their situation, it's more likely to stick with them. And not only that, it gives them a sense of accomplishment. It helps them to show their kids, yes, we are the parent. Yes, we can lead our families. While there's lots of agencies that provide the meals or provide water or blankets or that sort of thing, Family Promise is the agency in town whose main goal is to get people out of homelessness, off the streets, and into their very own place. We believe that every child ought to have a home, that no child should be left homeless. This past year, we received the award for Champion for Children of the Year. And that's partly because we see the value of making sure children don't get behind in their schoolwork. Homeless children often have not great social skills, or they haven't learned the very basic things that they need. So what happens is, as they go through school, they struggle, and then maybe they drop out, and then they can't get a job, and then they become homeless, and that cycle continues. We believe in getting those kids involved in education at a very early age. Family Promise provides real solutions, and we produce real results for ending homelessness. Many of you have served as volunteers, and many of you have sat with the families and played games with the kids and have influenced these families and encouraged them to become self-sufficient. Elpidia is our volunteer coordinator. She is the person that Family Promise can't do without. They can do without me, I'll assure you of that. But we can't do without Elpidia. So Elpidia is going to talk about being a volunteer.
Thank you, Doug. And I want to say thank you to everybody from Raintree Christian Church. Sorry about that. I'm really honored to be here. Before I start, let me tell you, the praise and worship was beautiful. I like praising in song, and I really enjoyed this. I'm going to be talking to you this morning about our volunteer program and the impact that as a volunteer you can have on the families in our program. Like he said, I'm the volunteer coordinator. I work with a network of 25 churches throughout the community. And I help train volunteers so that we can ensure the success of our program. First of all, homelessness does not discriminate. It does not respect race or age or gender. And families end up losing not only their homes, but they lose their self-confidence. They lose their respect and their human dignity. they tend to hit rock bottom. And when they come to us, they're just broken. They're broken and they need a little help to get back on their feet. And our program is not a handout program. We empower them, we instill that confidence, and we can only do so with the help of volunteers. I was thinking, I wanted to share a scripture with you that comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and I'm not sure if it starts on verse 4 or 6, but I know it's chapter 12, and it tells us that we have been given different gifts, one being service, and a spiritual gift is given to each one of us so that we can help each other. To one person, the Spirit gives the ability of wise advice. And this reminds me of a mentor program that we just started recently. We need mentors on board to share their wisdom and the knowledge to become role models and walk that journey with our family so they know they don't have to walk that journey alone. But it also says that to another, the Spirit gives a message of special knowledge. There's that knowledge that they need. These are wonderful gifts that that the Holy Spirit gives us, and we are called to share that with one another. At Family Promise, we have over 400 volunteers from our churches and some more from the community who selflessly give of their time and their talents and their treasures to help the families in the program. But let me tell you, it's not enough. Doug mentioned that we provide 365 meals 365 days a year. We need people to stay overnight, to provide security and a safe haven, to provide friendship to the families, to lend an ear and listen to them. We need help on weekends, whether it's 3 to 4 hours at a time, we need help. And everybody can get involved. The program, of course, we have families, so feel free to bring your children. Our children want to play with other children. They're there for 3 months with the same kids, the same families, and it's wonderful, but, it's nice to see a new face. Grandmas, grandpas, we have a lot of older, or let's say elderly people who come and they like to hold the babies. They share that knowledge that they have. They've journeyed through life longer than these young moms, and they have a lot to share. Volunteering is a labor of love. It's a sacrifice, yes. You have to give of your time. You leave sometimes the comforts of your home because you're going to go stay overnight. It is a sacrifice, but it's so fulfilling and so rewarding. And it's amazing to see the families, how the transformation happens from being broken to becoming self-confident, to becoming empowered. It's such a wonderful thing to see when they come to us and they have the key to the new home in their hand because they have left homelessness behind. They can do so because volunteers share their love with them. They share, they're kind, they share their act of kindness, the compassion, words of encouragement. And if you recognize those words, kindness, compassion, words of encouragement, they bring joy to them. Once again, the fruits of the Holy Spirit from the people of God, from our volunteers. And I know that a lot of people do not want to volunteer. They're afraid, they have fears. Oh my gosh, I'm going to a homeless shelter. These are homes. We have 2 homes, 2 facilities, a day house and an evening house. At the day house, that's where I work. I office out of there. And so if the families have to be off for some reason, maybe their kids are sick, maybe they're not working yet, they stay there at the day house. Otherwise, they go to the evening house after work, they have their meals ready for them because somebody provides it, and that's where they sleep. Volunteers, if they stay overnight, will have their own bedroom. Families have their own bedrooms, and it is communal living. We have up to 3 families that stay with us. They share the living room, they share the kitchen, bathroom, and the chores. They have to do that. But I strongly encourage you, consider volunteering for this ministry. It is an outreach ministry that's right in your own backyard. One of the things that I wanted to tell you is thank you, parents, for allowing your children to go to Family Promise this summer. It was a beautiful sight to see a big bus pulled up in front of our building, and all these children in a single file were walking down the sidewalk. A lot of them had flowers, colorful flowers, big beautiful vases, potting soil, and they brought gifts. And those flowers now adorn our porch, and they look beautiful. But, you know, I did explain to the kids, we sat down, that we had a question-answer session, and they're very inquisitive. They had so many questions like, how can I help? These are tiny children. They're just wonderful. And I told them, you know, if you want to come and play with our children, bring arts and crafts. If you want to donate clothes or donate toys. A lot of times people come to us and they have nothing. They may come from WPS. They may have been living on the streets. They have been living in their cars. And they welcome anything and everything. One, and I just have to tell you about this one, there's a little girl that really impressed me. And as they were leaving, she thanked me. She says, thank you for everything you do to help. I'm like, wow, you know? And then she said, I love the name Hope House because families receive hope at Hope House. That's the day house. And I thought, yeah, it just sounded so mature. She really understood what we were doing, that we were offering hope to the families to get them back on their feet and out of homelessness into self-sufficiency. There's a lot of joy in volunteering, a lot of reward. And so volunteers, of course, love in action. I want to share a story very briefly. One Saturday I went to our home, our day home, and as I walked in, there was a group of children sitting around in a circle. And there was an elderly person sitting like just right next to them. And they were laughing. You should have seen the glow on their faces. They were having a blast. And I thought, well, what are they doing? What are they playing with? And I stood there and watched them. And then the volunteer turned around and said, we're playing hot potato. I have not played this since I was a kid. And I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. Right now we have a play set that we got donated recently for our children, but we didn't have that then. Our VCR, DVD player was not operable, so there wasn't much for them to do. But you know what? The talent, the creativity that the volunteer brought to the program made a difference. It brightened up the children's life on that day. So we need volunteers to continue our mission. And I encourage you to share your gift of service and help the families who are working courageously to get back on their feet. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
You know, as we talk about the program, it's all well and good, but does it work? Is it successful? Since November of 2015, every single family that have graduated from our program is still independent today. All of them. It works for those that really want to. Now, full disclosure, during that time, I believe we had 4 families that the lure of the streets just called them back to the streets, and despite the best efforts of all of our staff and all of our volunteers, we couldn't reach them. But beyond that, in 2016, there were actually 66 individuals, parents and children, that are no longer homeless because of the efforts of volunteers like you and the program at Family Promise. A lot of people want to help. They just don't know how. And I know that you folks want to do more as far as missions go. And you want to do more than just give them money. You know, you want to be involved. You want to see results. The really nice thing about Family Promise is that you can come and give a piece of yourself to these families that they take with them. And you can watch them from the time they come into the program until the time that they leave. You can actually be the hands and feet of Jesus. And remember what I said about how Jesus understands and has a special place in his heart for those that give hospitality to the homeless, because they reached out to him when he needed it. He has a special place in his heart for the folks here at Raintree, because you guys have done that. And more would do it if they knew how. So we have a display out there. Pick up some brochures. Petey and I will be out there to answer questions. If you have a hobby, our families would love to know about that. If you have an expertise as far as budgeting, life skills, first aid, come teach a class on that for our families. For those of you that have been volunteering, just very quickly, you're wondering about the families maybe that you have worked with. Jasmine was a recent graduate that some of you may have met. She had a little girl. She came to us homeless, and while she was with us, she found a job, and she didn't have transportation, so we got her child into daycare. We provided transportation to daycare. We provided transportation to her job interview. When she landed the job herself, we took her to her job. Just last week, she graduated from our program, I guess, about 2 months ago. And just last week, she came and she wanted to show us the car that she was able to buy on her own. And she was so excited. And the things that we take for granted, we hear all the time of our families saying, I got to pay all my bills and I have some money left over. So we dread paying bills, but to them, it's an honor to be able to afford their bills right now. And I'll tell you something that no other body really knows is we have a family that was displaced during Hurricane Harvey in Houston, and they're staying with us. Right now, we have 3 single moms and 10 children living in that house. And the ages are from 5 months to 18 years. So whatever age group of kids you like to work with, whatever age group of parent you would like to get to know and mentor, there is a place for you at Family Promise. You can be involved in the missions here at Raintree by immersing yourself into that mission effort. Giving our money to places that we don't get to see is a good thing, but here's an opportunity for you to be the missionary to people that need it and that appreciate it. Together, Raintree and Family Promise is making a real difference in lives of people. Together, there are people who are no longer homeless because we are joining together. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.